everyone, welcome to Washington Forum. This is Sean Lin. And our Washington Forum is sponsored by NTD Television. And the Washington Forum has been initiated in Washington, D.C. area for many years. And in the past, our forum primarily focused on mentoring programs and a community discussion of various issues. And now we have these Washington Forums in English, and hopefully we can communicate more with American society about what's happening in Indo-Pacific area, as well about U.S. policies influence in global situations. So in today's program, we're glad to have Mr. Dave Wallace join us. He's the president for Fair Energy Foundation. Mr. Wallace, thank you for joining us.
Sean Lin, I appreciate it. It's a really deep honor to be here with the Washington Forum, speaking on international issues, and to be with you today.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wallace, I know you are very passionate on Taiwan issues. So we see the escalation of military tension, right? So Chinese fly over 150 war planes into Taiwan's airspace identification zone. And so many people have been worrying maybe there will be another war breaking up in that area. So do you have similar concern what you'll see on
I
this
have deep concerns about the Biden administration's veracity and tenacity regarding our friends and allies, true allies, Taiwan, the Republic of China. The Republic of China is a perfect example of what can happen to a society when the values of the individual take precedence over a societal control from top down by a government that will tell us what to do and how to do it. Because when individuals have an opportunity to live out their own dreams, the success is part of them when they can fulfill their dreams, but it's the greater success for the general society as well as the country, because that country then, not just the individual, becomes wealthy, prosperous, and most importantly, the people themselves attain the dignity that they otherwise could not attain.
This is very important issue about people's dignity, right? So of course, under the communist China, many people's rights were severely infringed, and so many suppression of different religious groups and different ethnic groups as well.
Absolutely.
And so how do you think the current administration can further enhance their criticisms or even sanctions on China's, like total war against all religions?
This is the biggest dilemma we face, because if we can't face it against China, we can't attack that problem anywhere and say it where people believe we're serious. And we have to be serious at a time like this, because Taiwan is in the crosshairs. We have to be serious at a time like this when China is pressing throughout all of the Pacific Rim and the Indo-Pacific region. And whether it's Taiwan, India, Japan, the Philippines, and others, Australia, we have to be as forceful as we can, similar to what was stated by President Trump, that we don't need to tell or telegraph right here on this news network what we plan on doing, because we've already spoken to the Chinese and we've told them how we feel, and that they know that there will be consequences to any actions against any of our allies in the Pacific Rim or elsewhere. And yet we know that we are basically offering the coal that drives the Chinese fire in a metaphorical sense, because we are seeing that we are their marketplace to whom they provide all of their goods. And they have attained this wealth over decades.
Because basically we feed them.
Because we are driving their industrial complex. And we know that there is nothing more important for the United States than to have an arsenal of democracy. Because without that arsenal, we are in no position to protect our own interests, let alone the interests of our allies and our friends. And the critical element is that we need to pursue our philosophy of governance here in the best manner we can, so that we are that shining city on a hill as an example to the world in this general context, that we want to strive every day for every human being for the triumph of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the American goal. Our founding fathers received a philosophy that seems as if it came from some greater power. And we believe in a greater power here in the United States, by and large. And yet the Chinese Communist Party wants to squelch our human dignity, especially by squelching our understanding of a spiritual life, of a godly life, where we believe that there's a greater power than any man that guides us in our philosophy. And that's what's so important. And yet the Chinese will crush anyone specifically for their religious beliefs. And what hasn't been mentioned, and maybe it was earlier, but the Falun Dafa, the Falun Gong, in some people's terms, they too are being persecuted. And the premise that someone lacks or has so little value, lacks any value to themselves, to God, to society, that they can have their vital organs harvested.
While they're atrocities.
It's an atrocity. These are things that no one should be standing by and not speaking out on.
Yeah, so
it's a horror that we're witnessing today that is, except for a Holocaust where 12 million people were killed, and during Stalin, when there was a Holodomor in Ukraine, where 7 million people were killed due to starvation and other means.
In the past, we always say
it's critical that we stand up today, because people ask that generation, and we're asking, what did you do to stop it? They're going to be asking us, what did we do to stop it?
Yeah, I think even people keep saying this should not happen again. The history should not repeat. We've been talking about this all the time. But even if you look at the United States nowadays, you talk about this so important as a spiritual foundation for the United States. But even in the school systems, you cannot talk about God creations. You have to use the term maybe intellectual designs, or even more severe, some woke culture. You cannot even talk about these aspects. So,
and yet it's going in the opposite direction today. It's not just neutral. There's a positive drive toward a socialist manner. And they're teaching our children that the most critical element of our society, a family driven by a mother and a father, is in question today in our schools. And when it's in question in our schools, it's not being taught that a mother and a father are critical for our society. In fact, they're saying it's not critical. So our children are being demoralized, and our culture is being demoralized today. And it's driven by those people who see the Chinese government as being one that's a model. And this is a fringe, but they now have control over our school system. And this is a critical element as well, because if we can't stand up here, we can't stand up anywhere.
Yes. So you are running for the 6th congressional district for
Of
Maryland, right?
Yes, sir.
And so do you actually will run this as a major platform for your campaign to focus on restoring the U.S. traditional values?
Absolutely. It's, in fact, one of the elements is to restore America's mission, restore America's greatness, restore our economy, restore our culture, our society, and to restore safety and security. Because obviously, if we can't control our own borders, we cannot protect our citizens anywhere in this country. Because once people come into this country, they proliferate throughout. And now we're seeing huge problems. And it's not just drugs. It's drugs being brought into the United States, especially fentanyl, in rural areas of Western Maryland. And instead of us seceding to West Virginia, as some people have spoken about, and it's even made national news now, now is the time for us to turn the tables and to create a Thermopylae, where Western Maryland, Eastern Shore of Maryland, and those people in the center of Maryland who believe in traditional American values say we aren't going to take it anymore. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. We have to preserve this country so our future generations can not just exist, but thrive. And when Americans thrive, America itself is great. And that's the beauty of our system, because we allow each and every individual to have their dreams and to fulfill their dreams when government does not intercede. But today we've recently taken our country from being energy sufficient and driving, based on exports, the global free market of energy, to where now we're asking, pleading with Saudi Arabia and others
become energy dependent again.
To please provide us sufficient energy, provide energy to Europe, provide energy to the Pacific Rim. And that's what I've been driving relative to FAIR, Fair Energy Foundation, because we understand that the driver of the greatest wars in history since the Industrial Revolution is the drive toward having energy security. Whether it was in the war in the Pacific Theater in World War II with Japan, or the Nazi Germans trying to capture energy fields near the Caspian Sea. The United States, we have so much energy. We have not even tapped into 1% of our total energy because of the engineering and the industrial revolution that's taken place by independent energy providers and wildcatters. The small groups of men that are 12, 15, 20 men who have innovated our energy revolution based on fractured drilling, which occurs thousands of feet under the ground, way below our water tables, and has been done safely around this country.
It's such an important technology the U.S. already developed and can make U.S. continue on become energy independent. But unfortunately, the situation changed. Right? And so if I extrapolate a little bit, because you talk about the energy is always important, and then you talk about the traditional value. So am I perceiving right that you actually think the spiritual value is actually like spiritual energy for the country? We need to really restore the spiritual energy first, and then the United States can have a bigger influence or have the positive influence on the international arena.
Absolutely. There's no better way to say it than you just did.
Oh, really?
Congratulations on what you just said, because when American spirit is alive and well, we are never going to be stopped. The American dream will be fulfilled for generations. But in every generation, we must remember what our mission is, and that is to allow each and every individual to be able to fulfill their dreams. Because when you have 330 million people and counting, each and every person is just a small piece of the puzzle. And we don't know if somebody in their garage right now is going to come up with the next revolutionary idea that will create an Apple or create a new energy company that's not based on anything we even know today. But if we go and start picking winners and losers and not have a free market for energy, a free market for technology, we will never see that, because in picking the new winner that government is only myopic to see, they're picking something that's going to prevent the best next new idea.
Yeah, they suppress the creativities and suppress the innovation, especially under the communist regime. You know,
Exactly.
when they say everybody need to sacrifice in the name of all the country's benefit.
And that goes further, because look at what's going on right now. We look at the Republican Study Committee, and the chairman of the Republican Study Committee has now been blocked on Twitter. And of course, we know affiliates of or at least people associated with your organization have also been blocked to a great degree, if not permanently, periodically, temporarily, because there are people out there who don't want good information to be placed into the marketplace of ideas so people can debate ideas. Without being able to debate new ideas, we don't take the next leap forward for mankind by one individual man taking one step. So it's important that we do that. We have to look at every single individual's one small step as that which may become a giant leap for all of mankind when a new discovery is made, so that we can then all participate in the value that that discovery creates. And this is the tremendous opportunity in a free society. And that's why although we are a nation of Americans, we're also a country of those that have wanted to come here and immigrate to the United States, because they see that. And they're the people who are going to come up with that next great idea. Like, for instance, we look at Nigerians. When Nigerians come to this United States and they see the opportunity they have, they're some of the hardest working people, most entrepreneurial, most well educated, because they believe that now they have that opportunity. And when you look at Latinos today, Latinos in the United States, they have a tremendous opportunity when they come here. And all of a sudden, their opportunity is unleashed. They feel empowered. And now we see the greatest number of small businesses being driven by legally, lawfully entering Latinos who come into this United States, only now to find out that we have an open border that is allowing nefarious criminal elements into the United States. Now, where do they go? They come into the United States and they infiltrate into areas where no one will notice that they're there. They come into Latino communities, Hispanic communities, and they become the persons that will leech off of that good community while they're hiding in it.
It's such a serious threat to the national security, to the community security as well.
Absolutely.
And so it's a major problems.
But going back to what is the argument for this Washington Forum, a strategic ambiguity. We really can't be ambiguous any longer now that China has risen based on our goodwill toward them, CCP.
So to you, it's actually like a choice of conscience, right? You make choice for your conscience, so you cannot be ambiguous on it.
You can't be ambiguous. If you believe in something, you have to be, as one person told me, Dave, you just are not this kind of person. You can't be politic when you're facing an enemy eyeball to eyeball. You have to tell them exactly how you feel. You have to tell them forcefully how you feel, and that forcefully you will reject any interdiction of our friends and our allies and those people that share our values, because you can't be a friend towards someone who rejects your values in all aspects and only wants you so that you can financially develop their skills to destroy you. My mom once told me,
you can't feed the monsters.
Right, you can't feed the monster. My mother once told me, she said, David, the United States is a capitalist country, but one day we're going to give enough rope to our enemies that eventually, if we're not careful, they will hang us with that rope. And of course, we can't allow that to ever happen.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. I hope more people can actually think about the warning that your mother gave more seriously. And thank you for sharing this with our audience, and hope more people can have better understanding about the current challenge that we face, the whole world is facing. Thank you so much.
I appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep up your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching Washington Forum. This is Xiangling. We'll see you in next forum.